So I have never made a tutorial before. I mean, that's a lie. I did, like, in what, 7th grade once for like a Flowey plushie. But like, as for coding, I'm the one who watches the tutorials, okay? I'm the one who needs help at all times doing everything. More recently, I guess maybe not. I think I've gotten to the point in coding and like learning where I don't need to constantly ask questions to other people anymore, and I can kind of begin to solve my own questions. That being said, the current game I'm working on, our demo is almost finished, and I have been saving music integration for like very last second because I knew I wanted to use FMOD, but I also could kind of tell that the amount of information on using FMOD in GameMaker was still really small. Like, there is some stuff out there for GameMaker specific FMOD integration. There's plenty for Unity and stuff, but like, that's not what I need, you feel me? Dragonite Spam has a good video on how to use it in a basic sense, like without using FMOD Studio, but for other game devs who really want to have interactive audio, or even just have their audio loop nicely, because currently GameMaker doesn't do that nicely, even if you just want good looping, you would have to use Studio, and the amount of information on how to use Studio is so small. You're pretty much limited to the manual, which is great. Like, the manual has plenty of information on all the different functions and what they do, but at the same time, if you're like super new to it, you don't know what any of those words mean. And so it took me, I think, 3 days, which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it was like 12-hour shifts for like 3 days of me trying to figure this out because there just wasn't enough information. Like, I spent the first just full day battling an error that, I'm gonna be for real, I never quite figured out how to solve. It just kind of went away at one point. But like, I was on Reddit, I was in Discord servers, like, I was trying so hard. No one knows what they're doing, and the people who do know are gatekeeping. So hey, I figured it out, alright? I learned how to do this, so guess what? I'm gonna show you now, okay? That being said, again, I learned this in like 3 days, so you are not allowed to say that I'm doing it wrong, or like any actuallys in my comments. No, okay? Because if you knew the information, then you should have shared it yourself, okay? Like, I have been pushed to the edge, right? No one should have to go through what I went through for this, so absolutely, if you have tips or whatever, please drop them. You know, this is a community, we all help each other out. But like, don't be rude and be like, you don't know what you're doing and you should shut up. And you do it instead. Show us how. Do it yourself. Make your own video. So this is a fully blank project. All that it has is a player object, which you may recognize because it's very much just like Sarah Spalding's way of making a player object, and some sprites and an empty room. That's all it's in here right now. I don't even have FMOD itself in this project yet. So you can download the extension from their GitHub, which is this, and then just take the most recent version, and then go to the FMOD website and download the actual engine and studio. FMOD engine goes in your game. FMOD Studio does not, but basically you will export from Studio in a way that engine can read. That's like the most basic way I can put it. So you need both. First, like, little tip, when I first was trying to do this, I think I got Windows 10, which kind of obviously didn't work because I'm on Windows 11, so I don't know why I did that. But if for some reason you're like trying to launch your FMOD thing and you just can't hear even though everything seems to be working, you probably have the wrong one of these, the wrong API, so try for that one. If you're on like anything else like Mac, I know Windows, okay? I don't know how to use Macs. This should pretty much translate to you. Always just get the Mac versions instead. But for any like very specific Mac related issues, I can't help you. Anyways, download those. So specifically when you do download FMOD engine, it's gonna like ask you the path for where to download it. Keep in mind where that was, like copy it somewhere else basically, because you need to put that into GameMaker. So we'll assume they're downloaded. You'll go into your files, your downloads. So this is the actual extension that you're downloading, FMOD engine. So you'll take it and just drag and drop it into your project. Import ASCII package, yes. Give it a second. Cool. The only thing you need is just FMOD. But again, if I kind of suggest maybe put in the demo and everything else as well, just to make sure that their version makes sound. Because again, if you for some reason can't even hear the way that they did it, there's a different issue going on. So it could be helpful to do that first. Technically, all you need is FMOD. So I'm just going to add in FMOD. And then this little folder over here, extensions. We're going to open this up. And you see right here where it says this SDK, this is where you need to put the path that it downloaded to. So in my case, it went, where did it go? Yeah, in my case, it went under program files and made its own little thing. So this is the default. So that should be working now. So now it's like kind of installed, right? Now it's in GameMaker at least. So next you're gonna open up Actual Studio. And I suggest that for whatever project you have, try to build everything in Studio first. You'll kind of see why, but basically again, we have to export things a lot. And the more you change things in here, you will have to update the build every single time, which can get annoying. So try and have everything finished here first, and that includes like your looping, any effects you want, like all of the big things that you would want to do in Studio. Do it first before you ever put it in GameMaker, as in before you ever like build it. So I already have mine set up. Again, there's plenty of information on how to use Studio. I'm not going to really explain it, but I have what I need in here, which is just a few tracks. And then what I will absolutely suggest you do, are my repeats working? Pause. Are we repeating properly? Yes. Okay. Sorry. So your banks, it's going to come with a master bank, which from what I understand, you want to mostly put things that aren't going to play like 24/7, but will play often enough and will kind of always be used. Things like UI sound effects or maybe footstep sound effects, that kind of thing. But especially if you have a larger or even like medium-sized game that has like different areas, for example. I made a game year and a half ago, called Straw Baby. That game, for example, is a platformer, but it has a few different worlds, like areas, and they have their own unique music. Now, in the case of Straw Baby, the game itself was pretty small to the point that I don't think I would need a separate bank for each. But if you have a larger game, think of games like, I don't know, think of games like Omori or Deltarune, where within each chapter or area, there's a lot of different songs that are only played there. So those need to go in their own banks, okay? And again, I'll kind of show a little more why it's important in a bit. But long story short, FMOD's gonna load your banks, not FMOD, GameMaker with FMOD. You're gonna load your banks in. And when you load a bank in, you're basically loading all of those files already. So if you aren't gonna be in, I don't know, your jungle world until like 3 hours into your game, don't load those files yet. So organize them into banks, however you see fit. And then, yeah, do that first. So, assuming you've done that and everything is the way you want it to be, we're gonna go to Edit at the top, Preferences, and Build. And then this says optional. It kind of isn't. So you're gonna find your GameMaker project in your files. Specifically, you need to find where it says data files because that's where we'll be pulling your assets from. So make sure you put that in here, data files. Okay. So this is mine. GameMaker projects. This is the project name, data files. Make sure it's in there. And then everything else you're fine to leave as is. I don't know what they do. Don't ask me. I leave it as is. Okay. So now to actually build them and put them in those files, you're going to right click the bank and press build. It'll do automatically. So that just exported it basically into that folder that you just set, and do it for each of them. And then we can kind of double check that it did go there properly by opening that file ourselves. FMOD integration, data files. Yeah. So it'll go in its own little folder called desktop, by the way. I tried changing that and it like didn't work. So just leave it as is, it's fine. And then here they are. You'll see there's an extra one, master.strings.bank. That's supposed to be there. Leave that, it needs that. So we have all this here, and that's it. Now, if ever you did need to kind of like, I don't know, change something, like for example, this one right here is kind of supposed to loop. So, okay, it'll loop badly, but it's fine. So if I set like a loop region for the entirety of the song. So now I'm gonna build again, chapter 2, build, and that's it. So if you did need to update it, I'm not gonna find that right now. If you did need to update it, it's very easy, just press build again. But again, for later reasons, you kind of wanna try and not change things around too much. Okay, so now you have FMOD Studio set up in a way that GameMaker can find its information and like what it's putting out. So we'll go back to GameMaker and actually start. So I'm gonna make an object, create object. I will call it, music. Me personally, I pretty much will keep all of my like music related things in their own object. And I will have it be a persistent object. And if you have some kind of like initial room that the game runs through where you're there once, never again, put it in there. Don't put it in each room or whatever. Like create it like maybe on your start menu, for example, or whatever you're using as an initial room, and make it persistent and leave it at that. That's just my advice. There's other things that you may want to put on like your general game manager object. In this example, there will be one thing that would usually be in that in my larger game, but for the sake of this, it's just gonna all be in this object. Okay, so we're gonna give it a create event and a step event. Maybe you want to do begin step, end step. I don't really care. I think step works just fine. So in the create event, make this bigger. Don't ask me what all of these things do, okay? I generally know how all of this works at this point, but there's some things where I'm just like, I do it because other people do. And so at the very beginning, you're gonna set up some variables. Okay, this is a little bit too giant, a little smaller. So we're gonna have var max channels equals 1024. As far as I understand, this is just kind of a good standard. There may be some very niche instances in which you want a smaller value for that, but like this should be fine. Var FMOD Studio flag equals FMOD Studio init normal. FMOD has a bunch of flags. If you open up actually in extensions, if you go to functions, no, definitions, they have a bunch of flags. Once again, please do not ask me what all of these do. I don't know. There's a few that I use for a few things, but besides that, I don't know. Again, they have their manual, their documentation that shows kind of everything. And so that would probably help you out a little bit for maybe knowing what these are. Do not ask me. I'm just a girl, okay? It's not my job to know. So we use that. From what I get, normal is a pretty good default. There are some other ones, but again, don't ask me. Okay, so we also need fmod, so var, fmod core flag, fmod init, also normal. Not Norman, normal. And then we're gonna do FMOD Studio System create and FMOD Studio System init, and we're gonna input max channels, FMOD Studio flag, and FMOD core flag. Okay. I don't know why this isn't turning yellow. So what I understand, this code basically just makes FMOD exist in your project. Like it kind of starts it up. So you basically can't have anything else in FMOD work if this stuff hasn't been called yet, which is why you put it in the create event. So it's called immediately. And then again, this is a persistent object, so it's not going to be called again later. This should work just fine, generally speaking. So now we're going to load the banks from earlier. Again, you usually would not want to load all of them at once, but for now I will. And then later I'm going to sort of show like making a controller for it essentially. But for now, we're just going to add underneath this. Actually, first I'll have like var underscore normal equal FMOD Studio load bank dot normal. Okay. And so now we'll load the banks. So we have var, we'll say master, is going to be FMOD Studio system load bank file. And so it asks for the file name. That's like the path from within data files. So don't include like, you know, data files in that. So we'll do like desktop, capital D, desktop, slash master dot bank and normal. And then really what you want to actually do is wrap this file name inside of FMOD path bundle. From what I get, it's just a good rule of thumb. Something regarding if you're building for Switch, I think. It can like struggle. I don't know, don't ask me. Supposedly it's good. So we'll be doing that. So that's the master loaded. I'm gonna copy this honestly. So now we're gonna load the master strings. And I'll call this actually master bank. So we have this same thing, and then it'll be master dot strings plural dot bank. Still load normal, and then we'll do var I don't know, chapter 1 bank, sure, equals the same thing, not like that. So desktop slash chapter and I won't load it in chapter 2 for now. I don't think it's necessary. So we can double check that these banks have loaded in if we just do quickly show debug, nope, debug message, and I'll just do like chapter 1 bank, sure. And we'll run the game real quick. Nothing will play yet. We just want to make sure that if we look in the debug menu, where are we? Am I like stupid or... Oh, it's not in the room yet. Okay, I am stupid, my bad. So put this in instances, obviously, so it actually like shows up. So now, if we're on the game, give it a sec. And if we scroll up a bit, okay. This big string, this is like, it's not really an ID. I don't know what it is, okay, don't ask me. But basically, that should not say 0. If it says 0, it's not loading it incorrectly. So the digits themselves, I don't think matter too much, but it shouldn't say 0. So cool. So they're loaded in. So now FMOD exists in our project, and our banks are loaded in. So now we can actually start to reference the events within the banks. So you can just by either using like, I think it's like event slash or colon slash like whatever the file name is. I don't do it like that. I use the event's GUID. So we're gonna get that by going back in Studio. And so I have currently chapter 1 loaded in. So I'm going to right click this one, just for example. And I'm gonna press copy GUID. And so now I'm going to put event. This is gonna be a variable. Event desk ref equals FMOD Studio system underscore system get event. They have the longest function names in this thing, by the way, as you can see. Okay, so string like that, and you want to keep the curly brackets in there. So we'll use that, and then we're gonna do FMOD Studio System. Nope, I lied. FMOD Studio Event Description Get sample loading state. Longest thing ever. And then we'll input event deskRef. Okay. And next we will say event is another variable desk instance ref equals FMOD Studio event description create instance event desk ref. Crazy long, okay? But we're almost done, kind of. So next we'll have FMOD Studio event instance start. This will actually begin the instance. Event desk instance ref, not desk ref, but desk instance ref. The difference between event desk ref is that event desk ref, I think, just references the event, but it is not the actual event itself. Again, hey, don't ask me. By the way, I don't know what this one does. Full transparency, I don't know what that line does, but I think it's good. From what I get, you can delete it and like it's gonna work still, but I just see people usually put that in, so hey, I'm putting it in. But yeah, just you may get like errors later on being like, oh, this is like the wrong FMOD instance, whatever. It's like a very specific error that I was getting a lot before. And I think what actually the issue was me mostly switching around these things. So I wasn't putting the correct kind of information in there. So if that's something that you're seeing, it's very likely related to that. Because again, if you did manage to get the FMOD demo working in like a blank project, then you know that it can work. So it's not going to be an issue with the, what's it called? The IDK? No, is it ISK? This thing, SDK. Because that can also cause issues, obviously. But just make sure that you're putting the correct one of these inside of all of these, because it's very easy to confuse them because they're so similar. Just be careful. Okay. And then this next line I think is also not crazy crucial, but also a good habit. That's FMOD Studio event instance release event desk instance ref. Don't ask me what that does. I think it's kind of not always needed, maybe, but just keep it there, okay? And then finally, we're gonna put in FMOD Studio System Update. So I don't know how to describe what that does, but basically if you don't put it in, it will not play the song or the audio. And later, if you want to like change what's playing, for example, if you don't include that, it will not update the system and it will not like play like what you want to play. So whenever you're doing any kind of code regarding like instant start or maybe like adding effects, make sure you update the system first. So now, if we run the game, it should start playing the song that I put in that event. Beautiful. Beautiful. Genuinely. And if we wait long enough, we should hear the repeat. There we go, and it loops again. Not very clean, but that's on my end because I didn't set the track up in FL Studio to like loop whatever. Don't worry about that. So it's looping. It's doing its job. And again, if you were to have added like reverb or whatever other effects Studio can do, those should also be reflected in what you just heard. So if you are receiving errors, the debug output is your best friend. This down here, this will show you everything. Because also FMOD has its own set of outputs for errors. that will give clues when things are failing with their own messages, and it should kind of point you in the right direction to what's happening. But if it isn't giving you errors, but it still isn't working properly, again, use show debug message. Like, it is your best friend. Like, even when I just showed earlier, like, checking if this was going to be, like, 0 or, like, some number, even that, like, step by step, just making sure that things are, like, loading in properly. These, I believe, also, if you were to put, I guess we'll do that. If we do, like, show debug message, event desk, whatever, that should be, like, something. Probably also a big string of numbers that I don't know what they mean, but it should work. It should show as something. Where are we? Yeah, this. So again, what that means, I don't know, but it's not 0. So I know that it's like loading it in basically. And so yeah, if things within that are giving you like 0, okay, something's wrong with like the loading in. Check that. Another helpful one as well is if we do show debug message. And what do? We put in this, get bank count. This should return 3 because I have 3 banks loaded in. Give it a minute. Yes, 3. That is especially going to be useful if you are kind of loading in and unloading banks. Like if I unload chapter 1 and load in chapter 2, that should still say 3, you know? So this is the most basic way I can show you. This is all in the create event, but I think most games probably aren't gonna play one song forever. You're probably gonna want to switch songs. So here is where the sort of more intricate stuff can come in. Okay? So we're gonna immediately like move a bunch of stuff around. I'm gonna also collapse that a bit and make this a little smaller, perhaps. Okay. So, back in my create event, we're gonna do some reworking. Okay? Hang with me, alright? Because it's gonna get a little bit ugly looking in here, but I swear it works. Okay? So first of all, we're essentially gonna set up a way to change the song that's playing. Okay? And this is gonna vary depending on how your game is set up. Hey, so I've been muted for like the past like 5 minutes and I was talking. Awesome. Phenomenal. It's great. Okay. What I basically just said is, wow, I didn't record any of me talking about this? That's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, that's fine. So, this array basically holds all of the events within the banks that will be loaded and unloaded. And the reason I specify loaded or unloaded is because like we aren't going to like need to unload the master bank really. Like I said, master should have stuff that's going to kind of continuously be used throughout your game. And so I don't even know if you can unload the master. I assume you can, but like you shouldn't. And like definitely don't unload the strings bank. But basically for like your chapters, like if you're going to different worlds, like I said earlier, like if you're in world 5, world 1 should not be loaded in, you know? So basically the way this will eventually be called is it'll take like global.music and it'll put in global.chapter, which in my game just kind of dictates as a number what chapter are we in. And so when it's going to load it in using this, it will always just take 0. And so global music, this, and 0 will return basically one of these. Either this, or if there's more, you know, like the file path, like where it is. For loading the actual event, it would then instead take global.songplaying, which should be 1 or higher, because if it's 0, it's going to load this, and there'll be an error. So that's how it will eventually be used. So you can change what song you're playing based on just these 2 numbers. These are the only things that change what song is playing. Or event. I keep saying song. That's kind of incorrect. It's event, but you know what I mean? It could be a sound effect, really. So it makes it a lot more simple, okay? Okay, really quick, like, side note as well. You may, like, ask, like, well, would you keep all of those GUIDs organized? This is how I do it. This is just a spreadsheet. I just have it separated by master, chapter 1, chapter 2. I have what the nickname mostly to me would be, not like what it might be called in FMOD, just what I would call it. I have already the GUID pasted as a string with these included already. And these are put in manually, it's just copy and pasting, but I put it in here. And then to quickly also just get it to be in GameMaker, you can use this function. It's equals text join, separated by a comma, true, and then just highlight it. And it will like copy it essentially as a string you can paste elsewhere. Very helpful. You'll also see that I moved out this. I took out like everything. I took everything from here down pretty much and moved it over here. And added also back in this since it was not declared anymore. And I added in these. They will not all be used yet, but just add them in, it's fine. So now in the step event, we have all this here, okay? We need to do a few things because the create event runs once. The step event runs every frame. So you can't just tell it to play every frame because, hey, guess what? It's not gonna like that. GameMaker is not gonna like that. So we have to basically add in some conditioning to make sure that it's gonna only play it one time, essentially. So for now, ignore this is gonna get moved again. We're gonna come down here and say if change song, which by default is true. Correct? Yeah. So if change song is true, event string, which is a new variable, equals that global.music, global.chapter, global.song playing. Again, you may have a different way of setting up like your worlds and your chapters, whatever. Do it how you please. This is how I'm doing it. Next we'll have event desk ref. Actually, it's the same thing. So event desk ref equals FMOD Studio system get event, and instead of inputting the GUID directly, we're gonna instead just pass through event string. I can't spell. Because that will have the GUID that we're looking for, okay? And then we'll put in the sample state. And what else? Event desk ref. This all just gets put in as normal. And then we'll turn change song to be false. Okay? And now we're gonna say if count equals 0, we're gonna instant start whatever we're wanting to play, and then set count to 1. So event start, event release, event update, or system update rather, and then count equals 1. Okay? And we'll keep that up there just to load in this one. So for now, actually, make sure we're playing from chapter 1, because only that one is loaded in right now. Yeah, okay. This should work. There we go. Oh, my thing is not happy. Do we see how I'm lagging? Hey, you want to guess why? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because every frame I'm loading this in. Okay, don't do that. Actually, then for a second, yeah, I don't know why. Because it will be in here eventually, but don't put it there yet. You know, fair enough. So keep loading it in there. But now it's playing with the step event. Or rather, the step event is what's starting it. There we go. And wow, I can move so much better now. Close. Okay. So cool, now you can actually start the song using the step event. Again, in a game, you're probably not going to play the same song for forever. you want to be able to change it when you want. But if it's in the create event, it's only done once. Like you can't like, unload, or like you can, but everything is like set up here. So we want it to be inside of the step event where other objects rather can change what's happening in it when you want. Okay? So now we want to make a way to actually change what song is playing. Okay? So I'm going to do this with a script because I think that's the most versatile way to do it, or you could call it pretty much anywhere that you needed to. We'll call it music chapter change, which would always be a changing chapter, but it's fine. So basically, so it's going to play an event, whatever. So we'll take 2 arguments, global.chapter and song, rather event number at arc. Okay. So in here, we're gonna say var underscore change chapter equals false, var underscore previous chapter equals global.chapter, and then if global.chapter does not equal argument 0, basically if the chapter we're currently on is not the one that is needed to play the song, which would imply that the one needed is unloaded. So first we'll set global.chapter to equal argument 0, and then also change chapter to equal true. And then now global.song playing is argument 1. And then with music, we will do the following. So FMOD Studio, FMOD Studio event instance stop event desk. Oh my god, desk. Instance ref. Am I spelling it right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, event desk instance ref. Okay. And then we're gonna do FMOD Studio stop mode allow fade out. There's 2 of these. I don't really care. Immediate allow fade out doesn't really matter. It's as it sounds. Do you want to stop immediately, or do you want there to be a way of having it fade out? For me, I want it to fade out. I will say this isn't going to make it fade out. It just kind of gives you the, like, I don't actually know. What I'm assuming is what can happen is in the steps that follow, maybe you can like automate it. Don't ask me, but whatever. Allow fade out. And then FMOD Studio system update, like I said. Update. So yeah, as it sounds, this will stop the song that's playing, update the system, and then also, if needed, so if change chapter is true, then change chapter, nope, it's not correct. Change chapter is true, and chapter previous equals prev chapter. And then change song equals true, count equals 0. Okay. So this pretty much just checks a few things. It's so it takes whatever you put in, like, okay, what chapter, or like more so what bank is the song you want in, or the event you want in. And then this is the event number, which again is going to correspond to this array. So same thing, it should not be less than 1, because then it will correspond to one of these. So it just takes those 2 things. That should say false. Oh my gosh. False. And so it's like, okay, is it the same chapter that we're already in? If it is, great. Don't care then. If it's not the same chapter, so if we're in chapter 1 and it wants to play the second event from chapter 2, then it needs to switch chapter to be, sorry, let's just say argument 0, not just 0. It will switch the chapter to be whatever you put in instead. And then this change chapter then comes down here, and it will eventually tell this code, okay, the chapter is changing, so you have to unload the current one and load that one instead, which we'll do in a second. And then just some other variables to kind of help with that. So then going back then into the music bot, we'll add up here. So if change chapter, which should be true by default, which also then means, where is it? Yeah. When you first load in, this will load in the song. So really, it isn't always like the chapter is changing, technically. But this will basically like load in the chapter if needed. So we will set chapter string equals global.music, global.chapter, and then just 0. So we can get this file path that we have here, or this one, you know, depending on whatever you're looking for. Chapter string, and then if chapter previous does not equal -1, which again is a default, then FMOD Studio bank unload chapter bank. Okay. So this basically just says, okay, if we haven't actually changed chapters, which again, usually this will not be -1 unless we're like first like loading in the game, like the first few frames. But after that, this should kind of always run for the most part. Like if this is running, this would generally always run because it should narrate the same thing, but fail state, whatever. So then we're gonna do chapter bank equals this now. So FMOD Studio system load bank file, FMOD path bundle. We'll change that to say something else as well. We'll move this up here. Okay. So instead of loading in this, we're gonna instead load in chapter string. Nope. Yeah. Chapter string. Because that will again have the file path. Next, just some little things. Change chapter is false, and change song is true. Okay. So basically, once this is hit, this will not run anymore. So it's not going to constantly like load in your banks or anything. And this will begin to run. And then, you know, you'll do what you have to do. This will eventually stop. So then it will just start it and never like begin playing it again, essentially. Okay. And so that's all the code for that, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. Yeah, okay. So now we just need to put this in the actual room. So if I just put in song change and I'll open up the variables. So currently what's actually playing? We're currently listening to chapter 1. I should move this on. Let's like put this up here. I don't know why I have it down there. Makes more sense up there. Okay. So currently listening to chapter 1. So this one, song 2. So this one will be playing. So let's have it instead switch, where am I? Switch to, yeah, okay, sir, song 1, that's fine. So immediately if I run the game and I run into that object, it should change the song. It's playing that one. Awesome! What did I do? What did I do? Song 1, chapter 1. I'm currently playing song 2. And if I change this to song 1, the other song plays, right? Okay, also, kind of forgot, get rid of this down here. We don't need that to play or load in a second time. Okay, well, upon startup, as you see, changing just this number switched us from this track to this one. So this is definitely working. Oh, wait. Oh my god. Hey, I know why it's not working. There's no code here. We're not done yet. Okay. Sorry. I understand. So in here, it's very, very simple. It's one line. It's just going to be, this is again in the song change variable, or sorry, object in the player collision event. We're going to say, okay, if this is not true, global dot song playing equals whatever song we have saved in our variable, this. So if it is not that, and global dot chapter equals chapter, so basically if this on the inside is not both true, this is kind of the same thing as well as if you said that instead, and then like use like else, but this is a little bit like quicker, whatever. So if that's not true, then music chapter change chapter song. Now it should work. Hopefully. Let's see. Beautiful. Look at that. The song changed. Wonderful. And it's not loading in the banks too many times. So that's working. So now you can change the song, which is great. There's kind of one more small thing that we'll do, and that is changing what's playing on the master, because we haven't like touched the master thing yet. So we're just gonna make a very quick thing. First, a second script, which we'll duplicate it at first. We'll call it music master change. Open this up. So very short. Music master change. It will play sound on the master bank, and all we need to put into it is just the GUID, which is again the string. So get rid of like all of this pretty much. With OMusic, literally just master count equals 0 and master string equals argument 0. Okay, so now that's basically it. So now we're going to go to, where am I? Back to the sub event of our music object. I'm gonna put this in a region real quick. So this is for like changing chapter songs or events, whatever, bad vocabulary, and region. This will be for changing the master. So if master string does not equal nothing, which right now it does equal, I mean, it's not nothing, it's a blank string. So if it is not a blank string, which means that there is some kind of GUID stored in there, and also if master count equals 0, wrap that in there, then basically everything up here but like just the master. So we're gonna say master event desk ref equals FMOD Studio system get event. So we aren't loading in the master like up here. All we're doing is taking the event inside of it. So get event master string, which again should be like a GUID. FMOD Studio, okay, the same thing again. FMOD Studio event description get sample loading state master event desk ref, and then master event desk desk instance ref. Again, these are mouthfuls, I'm sorry. Equals FMOD Studio event description create instance master event desk ref, and then FMOD Studio instance start no, yeah, FMOD, what did I spell wrong? What did I do? FMOD Studio. Is that not a function? Am I tripping right now? What did I do? Why are you yelling at me? Oh, it's event. Oh my god. FMOD Studio event. Instant start. There we go. Okay. FMOD Studio event instant start master event. No. Master event desk instance ref. And then FMOD Studio event instance really, this is so slow, I'm so sorry. Master event desk instance ref. And then finally FMOD Studio system update, and finally master count equals 1. Okay, so now we can play stuff from the master. Genuinely, why did they make all of the functions so long? Like, surely we could have like made it a little shorter. Like, God. Anyways, we have no way of currently triggering this, so we will quickly add in a way to do so. How should we do this? We're going to put it in the player event, I think. Yeah, okay. Let's put in the player event. So we're gonna make quickly one more event here, or one more variable here. It's called press, and just set it to false initially. We'll expand on this. Okay. So just down here, we're just gonna say if keyboard check pressed, let's say spacebar, press equals true, just in case else press should be false. And then if press is true, music master change, and then I'm gonna pass in a specific GUID. Again, probably put this in some other kind of array maybe, and have like refer to a an entry in that array, but whatever. So there. So now if I press a space bar, we should hear whatever's in here. Of course, that isn't how you'd want to do it. This is like for like UI sound effects, for example. So if you're using like a mouse to control your UI, maybe have it so that when you do left click, this plays or whatever instead. You know, whatever makes sense for your game. But for testing purposes and for this tutorial purposes, it'll just use spacebar. So now if I run the game, hopefully there's no errors or like crashes, ideally. Okay, so this is playing like it should be. Okay, and if I press spacebar, yep, there it is. Great. I guess one thing we should also double check is that if we were to change the chapter with one of these, if I put this in, and if I instead want it to play, nope, not that. If I instead want to play chapter 2, play the first song, sure. That should also work. And actually, I am going to quickly add into the music event. I'll do it just down here, it's fine. Show debug message. What was it? It's like instance count, whatever. FMOD Studio. System get bank count. Okay. Which should always just be 3. So even once we like try and switch the chapter, like the event from a different chapter, it should still be 3 because it should be unloading chapter 1. So we see down here, at every frame, it's fine. We get 3. If we go over here, still 3. Still 3. Good. Very, very good. And low-key, that's it. What I just showed took me about, again, like 3 days to figure out. It's not revolutionary. There's probably a much, much, much better way of doing this. And honestly, if you are someone who had been struggling to get this working, I implore you, please make it better. You should be making it better. That's what learning is, you know? Make it better using your own knowledge. and make it fit your own system that you're using. For me, this is sufficient. This is totally fine for me. For you, probably isn't, honestly. You may have a different way of setting up your game where this wouldn't make sense. I don't know. But like, I implore you, change it. Literally to your heart's content, alright? And tell me how it goes. I'd love to know. Were you successful? Because this took me so long to be successful. I put off doing music integration for so long. Like, it's been on my to-do list for genuinely like a year, I think, like for my game. Like, it's been over a year of me just dreading. I was like, I gotta learn FMOD. I gotta learn FMOD. I gotta learn FMOD. And I was like, oh my god. And hey, it was tough. Really, it was difficult. It was very, very hard, obviously, because just like, there wasn't a lot of information. And I don't know, asking for help online for like coding can be so daunting because some of y'all are rude. Like, some of you people are really mean and like really full of yourself. It's like, God forbid a girl ask for help. My god. But yeah, this has been my actual train wreck of a tutorial. Look, I know it's not that good of a tutorial, okay? I don't make tutorials. I don't, alright? Like, again, the last one I made, I was like 13, not even. I was like 12, dude. Making a Flowey plushie from scratch that I still have, by the way, just in case anyone was wondering. That is an ancient video on my YouTube, is me making that plushie. And I'm not good at teaching people things, I feel like. Like, this video is about to be so edited because I kept stuttering and like doing things wrong, like on camera. So, yeah. If you need clarification, you can just like ask me because I feel like I didn't do a very good job of explaining this. I would love to drop like the source code for this. I kind of don't know how. So, maybe during editing I'll figure that out and try to put it in the description. Ugh. You see, I stutter! Maybe while editing, I'll try and figure it out and I'll dump it like in the description maybe. If you're hearing this, I probably did do that. So, yeah, but still, I don't just use my code though, it's just kind of there if you need it. I very much suggest you type it yourself and do it yourself if you can. We don't learn by copying and pasting, we learn by doing. That's how we learn things. And game development and growing in game development is all about learning and doing shit yourself, alright? I know I learned from copying people, but it got to the point where I was like, okay, I want to do other things, and I can't do it with, like, your teaching. So I gotta figure it out myself. I don't know. That's it, I guess. Hashtag subscribe. I like never post, but I swear I think about my channel all the time. I'm working actively on my main game, and I also have a second game that I'm kind of working on every so often that I want to make a video on. I've just been very, very, very lazy, alright? I'm a busy girl. I'm a girl in STEM, okay? I got homework to do like all the time. Right now, I should be doing my homework, but instead I'm recording this. Why? Because I don't want to do my homework. That's why. I don't want to. Okay, enough yapping. Yeah. Have a great rest of your day or your evening. Good morning, good evening, good night. Yeah. Okay. Bye.